Dustin, thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to do a little introspective here. We're going to go all through your career, but I want to start at the beginning. How and why did you even get started into MMA?
I'm not even sure. I wrestled, wrestling's not huge in Louisiana. It's football and baseball. So wrestling, they have it at high schools and stuff, but my mom put me in wrestling when I was 9 years old. And I wrestled for like 2 years, maybe 2.5 years at a private club locally. So I had a little bit of understanding of wrestling. And then I kept playing football until I was in high school and started boxing when I was 17. And I guess and I knew this is the time like UFC was really, MMA was really blowing up. You know, this is like around the time of the anniversary right now of Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner. You know, like it was starting to cross over to be mainstream, more mainstream. And I didn't even know they had mixed martial arts gyms in Louisiana. That's how early the sport was for me. And I ran into some guys who were training their boxing for mixed martial arts at a boxing gym. And I was like, no way, where you guys train? You know, there's an MMA gym somewhere, and went to their gym and never went back to the boxing gym.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Would you say that athletics is popular in your hometown of Lafayette, Louisiana?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, football is, it's die hard out there. LSU, New Orleans Saints, even the Raging Cajuns, UL, University of Louisiana. Football is like religion in the South.
So how were you as a football player?
Good. Honestly, I probably would have been a lot better if I would have went to school. But I was good at an early age.
Okay, tell me about your hometown. How did Lafayette shape you into the person that we see today?
I feel like it's so repetitive because I've been asked this question, but I say the same thing every time. It's a lot of blue collar people, a lot of hard workers, and a lot of manual labor being done out there. Like people know how to work hard. And we have a great sense of community. That's why I moved back when my daughter was born. I wanted her to be raised where I was raised. People, Lafayette, Louisiana loves Lafayette. We support local. And I think that's important to have that sense of community, especially raising a kid.
How would you say that sense of community kind of took a kid who had a little bit of trouble growing up in those younger years into this figure in the community that we see today? You're constantly doing things to improve those in the community. How did they help shape that transition in your life?
I just, I think a big part of it was my mother. Growing up, my house was a foster home, so we had kids in and out living with us, and just trying to leave the place better than you found it is kind of just ingrained in me over the years with my mom and with having good people around me. So that's just been my mindset the whole time. But giving back to the community and doing things like that just kind of really happened organically. Actually, I was living here in South Florida, and I was getting ready to move back home, and I had all this fight. We're packing up stuff, filling boxes, putting it in a U-Haul, and you know how it is being married to a fighter. I had drawers filled with shorts, from 10 years ago in fights, and gloves, and a police officer lost his life in the line of duty right by the high school me and my wife went to. And he left behind a wife and kids, and I was like, you know what? I found out about it during the move, and I was like, well, we're packing all this stuff up. What if I auction this off? So that was the spark that started the whole thing.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. And I know you're impacting that community that you grew up in, but so many others around the country as well. The final fight is not in Lafayette, but it's not that far. It's in New Orleans. It's in your home state of Louisiana. What was it like to be able to get that done?
It was tough. And it's been an ongoing battle for months and months and months. Having to bite my tongue who you fight next? Are you going to retire? Where's it going to be at? Who's it going to, But behind the scenes, just getting Louisiana on board, getting the governor on board, the UFC, even making them interested in coming back to Louisiana, it's tough. These guys have a schedule. They're planned out for the year. There's so much more than goes on behind the scenes that people know, but we got it done.
Is it going to be extra special because it's there?
Yeah, for me, I've only fought one time in my home state in the UFC, and that was 10 years ago. Daniel was supposed to be on the card. I think maybe Dan Henderson fought. It was great. That was like one of my best times ever because I have a lot of family and friends who don't have the means to travel all over the world and go to these fights. But this one, and it being my last one, being home in Louisiana, New Orleans, it's incredible.
Listen, I've seen the reaction for you at Saints games, and that's a totally different sport. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like for you to actually compete and be the guy on top of the marquee there. I'm so excited for you because just the reaction that you get in New Orleans, I mean, outside of competition itself for something totally different, it's massive.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I carry the Louisiana flag proudly, and like people from there know I do. So I think that's why I get the support. And I've been fighting a long time. They've got to watch my journey, but bringing it home and where it all started, I love Louisiana. New Orleans is a special place to me. And I wear it proudly that I'm the reason UFC is coming back to Louisiana. I'm proud of that.
Yeah, as you should be. Now, this is really weird because I've known you for so long, and yet I have no idea how you got the nickname The Diamond.
Crazy Tim Crater. Do you remember Tim?
Yeah, I love Tim Crater. Yeah, he used to train in his gym, right?
Yeah. I mean, he was my first real jiu-jitsu instructor. Longtime friends. I cornered him in the UFC in some of his fights, but he gave me the nickname. I actually got signed to the WEC. I fought amateur and pro and never had a nickname. And WEC sent a form over. I don't even think I had a computer. I had to fill it out at his office at the gym. And he was filling it out, and it had a spot for a nickname. And he put it in and sent it. That's exactly how it happened.
I actually love that.
Yeah.
You mentioned the WC. I love the WC.
I'm one of the last guys.
Yes.
I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. I was trying to think, well, if Cerrone comes back, but who else is in the UFC right now?
I mean, that's an excellent question. Because at a point, there was only like 3 people left, I thought. That's a great question. I mean, the blue canvas representative.
Oh, man, I have some of those blue gloves. I'm never going to let them go.
No, I know. They're the ones that stay in our house, too.
Yeah.
You make your debut in 2010, and you're 7-0 at this point. The WC was the home for smaller guys. This was one of the big organizations before they merged with the UFC. They were still owned by the UFC. But you come in here and you get signed to this big promotion finally after, putting together some massive wins. What was that experience like for you?
It was surreal. I mean, walking out in the MGM Grand with the UFC gloves on, it was amazing. My first win in the UFC is a night I'll never forget because guys who were with me were guys in my corner who I grew up fighting with. We've been training partners for a long time, and it was crazy. I was just looking back on it like I was just a kid. I'm thankful for the journey, but my first fight in the UFC, that night I'll never forget.
UFC 125 also, that was like an amazing card.
Yeah, Frankie fought Gray. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a great card.
Yeah, so did you feel like you were nervous when these bigger opportunities came about? What was mentally going through your mind? You have the WC, then you guys merge officially with the UFC. You make your UFC debut on January 1st. Was it? Yeah. What was it like for you? In terms of like personal growth in those experiences.
It's tough to say like the mindset I was in back then, but I was young and really believed I was the best in the world. And ignorance is bliss. So I didn't overthink it, honestly. I overthink things now more than I did back then. I was just going with the motion, fighting. It was another fight. It was a big deal in the UFC, obviously. But, and I stepped in for, Aldo got hurt. The guy I made my debut against was the #1 contender. This is before rankings. He was gonna fight Aldo. Aldo got hurt, and I don't know if they thought I was a tune-up fight or let's keep him busy. But I had a huge opportunity here to come into the UFC fighting the #1 guy and really make a name for myself. It's incredible.
And you did it like it was not even a thing.
Yeah, unanimous for sure. I would have liked to put him away, but.
Fair enough. I mean, when you made your WC debut, though, that was when the first time you ever suffered a loss professionally.
Yeah.
Was that hard to deal with?
Very. And you know what? Just flying to Vegas. I've never been to Vegas, really. So flying to Vegas, fighting at a casino, this was a big deal to me. I finally made it. Of course, I've been watching WC for a long time, and now I'm standing on the mat that I've been watching for years. It was crazy. But I'm thankful for the journey. I'm thankful for it all. And my debut in the WC, Danny Castillo, and I still run into him sometimes at fights. He's cornering guys and working at Alpha Male. So super nice guy. Yeah, he beat me, grinded me out, and I just never seen that before. I never seen that level of wrestling before. We don't have that in Louisiana.
Did you feel like you learned what was needed to find the successes then after that experience?
Yeah, I actually became friends with Kurt Pellegrino and started going to Jersey and working on my wrestling. He would come down to Louisiana just to bring in a different set of skills that I didn't see at home. And then eventually, I had to change gyms. I don't want to say outgrew, but it was a mutual decision on me, Tim Crater. Like you need to get out of here.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just the bodies alone and the training partners alone to push you.
I was a full-time fighter, and these guys were like hobby. And I'm trying to fight the best guys in the world, and it just didn't work.
Fight the best guys in the world you have. I mean, you're a legend in this game because not only have you put together these impressive wins, but you've fought a who's who of this sport. You've become one of the biggest stars that there is. I want to talk about some of the opponents that you've faced. There's kind of a recurring theme with a couple of them, but like Max Holloway, this is a guy that you faced. I remember the first time you two fought, and it was so interesting. You were both so young, and the way that ended. I mean, what can you say about those couple of fights that you had with him and what those experiences were like?
He was like I was his first fight in the UFC. He took the fight on short notice. I was supposed to fight Ricardo Lamas, then I was going to fight Ronnie Yaya. Both guys got hurt somehow, and Max filled in. He was like 20 or 20, he's super young. This was, I think, 12, 13 years ago. But I didn't know a whole lot about him. I couldn't find footage. He only had a few pro fights. But obviously, for the right reason, they brought him in. He's a legend. So it was kind of a switch up for me. I was training to fight Ricardo. I was training to fight a jiu-jitsu guy, now a kickboxer, a tall guy. Like, it's just so much different things went on in that training camp. But that was at the time of my career when I just got into the UFC, and I was a year in, and I was on a win streak, maybe 3-4 wins in a row, and I would have fought anybody they put in front of me.
That submission was really interesting too. I remember we did an interview afterwards, and I specifically had you walk me through it because we were in the media room, and a lot of people were like, how did he just do that? I mean, that young in your career, you were already pulling off things that people were amazed by.
I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time. Like, just because I don't use it that much, or I've been submitted in fights, like, I used to compete at IBJJF all the time. I've, earned my stripes and did the local competitions and trained jiu-jitsu for a very, very long time. But that submission was it happened because of a fault on my technique. I had an arm bar extended. Yeah. I didn't throw my leg over to keep his head down, and he just sat up into a triangle. So, he threw me a layup right there.
Yeah, it was a highlight for sure. You go from Max, who you faced a couple of times now. There's also a guy in Conor McGregor that maybe, those later fights is what made the whole world stop and take notice. From the kid who fought Conor the first time to those last two fights, I mean, what was that evolution like for you?
It was, obviously I got better as a fighter. I mean, that was, how many years was that? 7, maybe, I don't know. It was a long time between those fights, but I've had a lot of big fights in the UFC, main events, and I just knew who I was. I was more acquainted with myself at that time, like the talking and all that stuff didn't get under my skin and get in my head like it did the first time. The first time I fought him, everything he said I would go to sleep thinking about. And the next 2 fights, it was just noise. At that point, I fought everybody at that point, and I knew all that mattered was when the bell rings.
When you first faced Max and Conor, was there ever a time you could have convinced yourself, like, yeah, we'd be 3 of the biggest stars the UFC's ever seen?
No. And even when Conor beat me, of course I watched his rise. He was on fire coming in, knocking people out. And even after he beat me, I was like, I don't think he beat me. And I was like, I don't think this guy is who he says he is. And then he went on to do the things he's done. And I could have, and on the Max side, like I could have never, after me armbarring and triangle and Max when he was a young kid, to go on to win championships and be around this long and hold all these records, no clue. It's
kind of amazing, honestly, what you guys have accomplished.
Yeah, we've been around a long time.
Yeah. Max Holloway is a guy you've fought before. Seems like you like trilogies now. How did this come together that he would be the final opponent?
I don't even know how this came together. But yeah, I've been in some trilogies now, I guess. This one's different. Usually it's like 1-1 or, I'm 2-0 on Max. But he's a legend and a great fighter and a great champion. And like we spoke about earlier, just see the things he's done in his career from that young kid I fought in his debut. All the way full circle, I was his first fight in the UFC. Now he's going to be my last fight in the UFC. So it's just, It's crazy. But when I lay the gloves down in July, there's nobody else like that I would rather have fought my last fight than Max Holloway.
I was gonna say, was there like a particular standard that you had for your final opponent?
Yeah, it was, for me, my mindset was like legends only. It's got to be a legend only. And Max ticks all those boxes. And then knocking out Gaethje, and I know he just lost to Poirier, but he's in his prime right now, and one of the longtime champions. And those are the guys. Those are the guys that I want on my resume.
Do you feel like, and this might be a silly question, but would you rather get a quick finish here? Is this one where you want to have 25 minutes to work inside the octagon one final time?
I'm going to try my best to be in a moment on fight week, and just because this is the last time I'm ever going to feel these morning jitters of fight day and walking into the arena. I'll never feel this again. So I want to put on a show. I want to go out with a bang, and I want it to be fight of the night, fight of the year. Yeah, I'm expecting stitches.
I've got to ask you this, just as somebody who's seen things on the inside as well. What about the final weight cut? This
will be the last time I'm ever 155 pounds in my life. I can promise you that.
Are we still going to be in shape, or are we just going straight diabetes?
Listen, I'm getting on steroids. Once USADA stops knocking on my door and I lay the gloves down, I'm getting jacked and tan.
Well, I'm glad I asked that.
Yeah, that's the truth. My wife's like, no, you're not. I'm getting on it.
That is so funny.
That's the honest truth.
When you look at this incredible resume that you have put together, is there a fight or an opponent, and maybe it lies in what we just discussed, that really stands out to you the most in terms of like career defining or even favorite?
I mean, beating Conor in Abu Dhabi after 7 years of him talking and posting pictures of when he knocked me out and all that, it felt right. It felt good. And especially at the time we were at, quarantining and all the craziness going on, it just felt like it was meant to be. When they called me with that fight, I knew I was going to win. I didn't care what he did or what he said or whoever was across from me under those lights that night. I was going to get my hand raised. Yeah.
How did life change for you after that win?
A lot more opportunities business-wise. Like obviously, you beat one of the biggest stars in the biggest star in the sport at the time that we've ever seen. Everything comes with that. Is more opportunities business-wise. People wanted me on TV, wanted to interview me, and it was great. It was great for business.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we had 145, 155, and even 170. What weight class for you has been best?
I've never fought in the UFC at 170. I only have one.
In your career, though, right?
I do have one fight at 170 pounds. My first fight ever. This was like 2006 or 2007. I fought it. I weighed in 168. Didn't even cut weight. Yeah, I didn't even
make 170.
No, I weighed 168. Ready, 55 is where I feel at home.
Yeah.
45 was a struggle. It was tough.
How did you do it, Dustin?
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough.
I mean, the lifestyle change had to be completely different to be a featherweight.
Yeah, I had to, even outside of camp, I had to live a certain way and watch calories, and that's no way to live. I was measuring everything. That's okay in fight camp, but year round you can't do. You get burnt out. You just get burnt out.
That actually leads me into the next question, and I promise you there is a reason for it. Do you have any sort of behind-the-scenes story or a memory that maybe the public isn't aware of? Even like, I battled through an injury before this fight and I had a huge victory. Or
I have a bunch.
Yeah, what stands out to you when you think about the stuff the general public might not know about you and your career?
I have talking about injuries going into fights. I mean, when I fought Bobby Green in LA, I had a broken foot. Went into that fight with a broken foot. I kicked somebody in the elbow, and like 2 weeks before the Max Holloway fight in Atlanta for the interim belt, I had a lacerated bicep. I don't know if anybody ever noticed, but like between rounds, I'm like shaking my arm. I threw a punch and a guy blocked like this, and my bicep missed, and my arm missed, and the scans showed like a slice. Like it wasn't a torn bicep. It sliced my muscle like somebody hit me with a hatchet. Like my whole arm was black, all the blood drained down. So I had that. My last fight, the Islam fight, I had 2 broken ribs going into the fight. And I knew it was going to be a wrestling grind. My wife wanted me to pull out of the fight. Mike Brown wanted me to pull out of the fight, but I couldn't. Yeah. Gamrot broke my ribs like right before fight week.
Damn it.
It was an accident. It was. What's crazy though, it was an arm bar. It was just my arm was pulled weird, and I did like a hitchhiker. I was trying to roll out, and then my ribs just popped. So it was a crazy accident.
All right, what about positively? Is there a memory or a moment behind the scenes involving some fight that you're like, oh man, I had like the best after party, or I don't know, just something positive about that we wouldn't know?
We always do it big after fights, win or loss. It's always a celebration of life. But something that like positive that really jumps out to me is my first bonus. I think it was Max Holloway. I got a submission of the night. That was back when they did. Well, they do performance of the night now, but they had and it was like a $65,000 check, and I wasn't making great money. My wife was in school. I had bought a house. Like getting that check, getting out of debt, paying off my wife's car. Like Lorenzo, this was back in the day when he'd come in and give you a check handwritten, and just unbelievable. A young kid. To see that $65,000 was life-changing for me at that time.
The Fertittas definitely changed a whole lot of lives by the way they handled some of those things.
Yeah.
I just have to tell you, the reason I even brought up this topic is we were talking about weight classes, and something that will always stand out to me was you and the gum. When you were fighting at 145, and I've told you this before, but you were fighting at 145, and you would tell me about the flavored gum that you found.
Because that's all I could have.
Yes, and it was like you were describing a full meal to me at this great restaurant, but it was like one tiny little trident of a flavor that like you found online.
Then they started making like dessert ones. They had like key lime pie. I'm like, oh, this is the best.
Yes, and you were genuinely like so pumped about it.
No, it was for real.
Yes.
I was barely eating. I was,
yes, man. I'll never forget. And I just remember thinking like, oh my God, he's got to eat soon. But yeah, you mentioned Jolie. I mean, everybody who's been around you has been around Jolie through your entire career. She is honestly just such a gem. She's such a light whenever she walks into the room, but she is somebody that has been by your side since well before you even found success inside the Octagon or the WC. To have her be in that passenger seat through this whole journey, what has that been like?
It's, I can't even put it into words, but what I have with my wife, the journey of fighting and self-discovery through fighting and just life is like I could never do this again with another person. We have something that can never be replicated in my life. Like it's something that I hope everybody finds. She's my best friend.
What would you say is good advice for a partner who is maybe watching this and their significant other is, whether it's MMA or something else at a high level, they have these dreams and aspirations? What do you feel like Jolie is able to do right and bring to the table for you to be supportive?
For me, she's always been an anchor. She's always been an anchor. Like when I was a young kid fighting, we moved in together at 18 years old. So I had a reason to be home, not partying. I had a reason, she's always been an anchor for me. And she's believed in me. I've said this before, more than I believed in myself at a lot of times in my career. I don't want to get emotional.
No, me too.
Yeah, she's my best friend,
Yeah, and she is the best. And so is Sweet Pea.
Yeah.
We love Parker so much. It was really special when you brought her to New Jersey.
She's flying out here.
I can't wait, because I love being around her. She's just like the coolest kid, and she gets it. But when she was born, you were still young in your career. I mean, what was that like to
I was in fight camp when she was born.
What was that like?
It was everything changed. Everything got kind of put in perspective. Like after becoming a father, I realized like fighting was who I was and what I did. And after becoming a fighter, I realized that fighting is just something I do. It's not everything. Yeah. The day she was born is the best day of my life.
I bet.
Yeah.
What if she says, Dad, I think I want to fight?
Nah. What's crazy is the day she was born, it was the rematch with Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. I got like some food dropped off at the hospital. She was born a few hours ago. We're in the hotel room. I'm watching pay-per-view in the hotel room. So she's born into fighting. She doesn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, no.
She doesn't want anything to do with it.
Smart girl.
Yeah.
Smart girl. You have always had such a good perspective on fighting and on wins and losses. Do you feel like truly, with all of these victories you've had and these massive opponents and these huge shows, do you ever feel like you truly let yourself celebrate the wins?
Teddy Atlas told me one time we were talking, and it's something that stuck out to me that I'll never forget. He said, we were talking about my career, and just, he said it's hard to see the picture when you're standing that close to the frame. And I feel like I'm still close to the frame. So one day I hope I can step back and really look back at the stuff I've done and really be grateful. I'm great, not that I'm not, but really from where I came from to where I've made it in fighting and the guys I fought, I think one day when the smoke clears and I'm really done fighting, I can look back and be proud of everything, you know. I'm too close to the frame.
No, it's hard, and I often feel like in my position, in both my personal life and my professional life, I'll speak to you guys after fights, and you do amazing things, and there's still part of you that doesn't feel the joy.
Right.
And I'm just, I've always been curious, can you feel 100% joyful after those things?
Getting a win, it's a relief in the moment, but as soon as that night's over and you fly back home Sunday, Monday, you're like, what's next? So you get a couple days relief, weights off my shoulders, and then it's what you're right back into the fire. And I think you have to have that. You can't like celebrate wins too long or losses,
Yeah, when you don't get your hand raised, you're always so honest, and you always do interviews, and you're always talking about it. Like, you don't shy away from the fact that maybe it didn't go your way. But how do you personally deal with those times as well?
Horrible. Everybody's their own worst critic, but I beat myself up. I do. After I lose, it's tough. It's tough on me. But time heals all, and I've always, my whole career, anytime I took an L, I tried to get back in the gym and kind of just drown those thoughts and feelings out with more work. I'm gonna get better. I'll be back in the win column. I've never lost 2 fights in a row, and I think that's partially credited to jumping right back in the gym, trying to tighten up gaps, don't make the same mistake twice, and yeah.
What would your advice be to the next generation of fighters who want to live this lifestyle, but they're going to face the challenges of both the highs and lows of this sport?
Believe in yourself. It's go to college. That's my advice to them. Go to college.
I think that's great advice. Great advice. As you think about the final bow, the final walk to the octagon, it's hard no matter what. There'll be good and bad no matter what during fight week, but what goes through your mind right now as you think about making the last walk to the UFC octagon?
I'm scared of it. It's bittersweet, I've done this longer than I haven't. And what really I beat myself up, I want to say beat myself up, I spin my wheels for sure. I think about it all the time. It's like, I know I have a lot more to give. I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. I'm leaving great fights on the table, but it's like, am I going to be that's the reason I'm walking away. Is like, am I going to be the world champion? To get another title shot, I've had 3, right? I mean, to get another one is going to be tough. And I don't know if I have it in me to put together that win streak but I have great fights left in me, so I'm walking away I think about my best right now. I just fought Islam tooth and nail, had a great fight, and I feel like I can still beat it. I can beat him, I think. But it's just time. I'm a father. I want to have another kid. I want to do things outside of the octagon. And if I'm not going to be the world champion, then I'm just showing up for a paycheck, and that's not who I want to be. Of course, the money's great, but I don't want to disrespect the sport like that and hold up the rankings. And if I'm fighting, it's always been to be the world champion, to be the best in the world. And maybe I'll hit the ceiling and my ceiling. And I don't want to just fight for a check. I want to be the best. So it's bittersweet. I'm still digesting it all, and I'm sure I will for a long time.
No, absolutely. And I think it's really admirable to share that perspective as well. Do you think that you will still be involved in mixed martial arts in some capacity, or do you want to ride off into the sunset and never see anybody around the sport again?
No, I love the sport. I watch every fight, not just UFC, every organization, I watch everything. I'm a huge fan of the sport, and I love it and always have been. But I want to stay connected to it somehow. I'll hopefully keep getting on with ESPN or working the desk just to stay around the sport and be a voice in it, because it's created the life I have. It's all I know is this. Like, I don't have any other. So speaking about it and being connected to it is something that's important to me. But I don't know if I'm ever going to open a gym or anything like that. That's not like a passion of mine. But I would love to help fighters. I still go back to American Top Team and help guys with fights, and local guys in Louisiana, their upcoming fights. I try to help out as much as I can, because this fighting was a vehicle to become who I am now and to get me out of where I was. And I know it can be that for other people. So I want to, support them in that journey into the unknown of fighting. You know, it's beautiful when it works out, and it's beautiful when it doesn't if you embrace it all.
No, absolutely. Dustin, you are just the prime example of everything that we want out of a professional athlete in this world. You've done it all. You've always been honest. You've always had such a positive attitude whenever you've worked with any of us. Personally, I feel like I've grown up with you. I'm really sad I won't be at your fight. I mean, for good reason.
Right.
But I'm very sad I won't be there because it's been truly the greatest honor to work with you in all of these different capacities, to watch your family grow, to see all of your successes, and when even things didn't go your way, the class in which you carried yourself. You are a shining example. We are all lucky to have worked with you and to watch your career. And I think we're all really proud of you and really excited for whatever the next chapter is.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. That type of stuff, what you just said, means more to me than the fight records and stuff. Like, just keep pushing.
I'm glad. Well, if he's born on the day of your fight, maybe he'll be like the diamond or something.
Let's go. Let's go.